and metaphor a lot. And so I think I grew up just understanding metaphor and just kind of loving that, how you could take something you're going through and speak about it in a different way that applies how you're feeling to something completely different but connects it. So I think for me it starts as an idea and a feeling and an emotion.
Yeah. We had a lot of questions about the process from budding songwriters who submitted questions that are big fans of yours from Buffalo and a bunch of different places. And I mean, you know, we were wondering, is there one favorite part of the songwriting process that you have? I mean, is it when you get that idea, or when you're sitting on the floor in the bedroom, or you know,
yes.
is it when you're in the studio?
There are several moments in a song. And I won't finish a song if I don't have these moments where you go, ooh, 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 like after you read a line. And it's always that same feeling of like, oh, that's exactly what I meant. You know, if you're in a co-writing session, I'm always the one who will be sitting there for a second, and then I'll say a line, and if it's that moment where you're just like, that's the one, that's the line. I have to have about 4 or 5 of those lines in a song for me to put it on a record.
Yeah.
Like lines where I'm just like, yes. Mm-hmm. So that's my favorite part, is then when the song goes into its phase of being recorded and then being put on an album, and when you're playing it for people for the first time, when it comes across those lines that you really feel are like, I don't know, like zingers, or like say it really well.
Yeah.
I love watching people's reactions if it comes across, like if they get those lines. I'm like, yes, knew it.
Well, we'll get back to the co-writing thing in a second, because there were some questions about that as well. But and here's another question. This is from Music Maniac in Los Angeles. You've said you're already writing for the next record. Can you tell us anything about it?
Well, yeah. For me, I never really switched the writing switch off. It's always on, because I kind of have always felt like to make an album that I am proud enough of to give to my fans and say, here, you know, allow this into your life, it has to be 2 to 2.5 years of writing. And that way you know you have your best stuff, because I'm so tough on myself. I drive myself insane writing records and albums, because it's like, I'll write like 40 to 50 songs and then 13 or 14 make it. That's a lot of paring it down and making sure you're getting to the best stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, it takes a while, and I've been writing ever since I stopped writing the last album. And there's been a lot that's happened, and I never really talk about my personal life, but I write about it.
Yeah.
So that's basically what the album is about, as always.
Yeah. The unreleased thing was something that came up a lot, and one of the top voted questions was about, you know, would you ever make a CD of your unreleased songs? This is from Tay Swift Fearless in Missouri. But, I mean, what happens to those songs that don't make it to the album? And, you know, would you ever release some of the songs you wrote, especially when you were younger, like 14, 15?
Well, I'm obsessed with the latest song that I've written. I'm very guilty of that, because like my favorite thing is always the newest thing that I've written. But lately I've become a little more self-aware, because I had this song that I wrote when I was 16, and it's called Sparks Fly, and I played it in a few shows, these little bar shows, when I was playing to crowds of like 40 and 50 people and being psyched about that many people showing up. And I played it a few times, and it got on the internet, and when I was putting together the Speak Now album, the fans just kept saying over and over again, Sparks Fly, we want this to be on the record. And so I went back and I revisited it, and I kind of rewrote some things and updated it. And when we put it out as a single, it's been one of the fastest rising songs we've had on the record. So it's kind of taught me a lesson about the old stuff, maybe possibly being good enough to put on new projects.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love to hear some of that stuff. Let's move on to some of the released songs. This is a question from Cookie13 Cupcake. This is in the United Kingdom. This is going to be a long one. All right, so out of all your released songs, which song took the longest to write?
I think that the song Sparks Fly, the fact that it technically was started when I was 16 and ended up on an album in sort of a different form in 2010, that took a while for it to turn into what it was going to be. So I'd say that was probably the longest developing song that I've ever put out, because most of them, and especially having written this entire new record without any co-writers, it all happened really fast because I'm very impatient. Like, if I don't have a song finished, I'll obsess over it. I won't sleep that night, and I'll just edit constantly to the point where I can't focus on a conversation, and everyone around me is annoyed because they're like, clearly you're working on something, just finish it. That one was a long time to kind of get where it needed to be.
Cool. So let's talk about that co-writer thing for a second. As you mentioned, this album was all you, as far as for Speak Now. But you do often work with co-writers. And how do you decide if you're going to write a song with a co-writer or whether you're going to tackle it yourself?
Well, there are a bunch of different circumstances that could bring about a co-write. If I'm writing for somebody else's project, that's always exciting for me. Like, I love to put myself in somebody else's shoes and think about their style of music, incorporating their storyline, what they're feeling. It's really fun for me to do that. So I love, writing for other people. And then, if I'm working on an idea, but there's like a stopping point where I can't really figure out like where this chorus is going, or if my hunch is right about the hook, or things like that, if there's a definite stopping point, I'll bring it to a writer that I trust or a writer that I admire, and just ask them what they think. A lot of times, co-writing, I write really well with people who don't even play instruments or sing, because, a lot of times my best co-writers are just really great at giving advice. Like, do you think this chorus is too long? Yes. Like, thank you.
Yeah.